Welcome to this explainer. Okay, picture this. We are in the vibrant, ancient city of Vesali. A really prominent figure, a guy named Mahāli, is absolutely desperate to see the Buddha. But the Buddha's actually on a private retreat, and there's this overzealous attendant trying to block everyone. Well, thanks to a young novice who gracefully steps in, Mahāli finally gets his audience. And let me tell you, what follows is not just your run-of-the-mill spiritual chat. It is a fascinating conversation that completely challenges the fundamental reasons why we even pursue spiritual practices in the first place. Okay, let's dive into this. When Mahāli finally sits down, he asks this burning question about his friend Sanakata. Now, Sanakata is incredibly frustrated. He's been studying with the Buddha for almost 3 years, meditating successfully enough to actually see these pleasant, arousing heavenly sights, but he cannot hear the heavenly sounds, no matter what he does. He's so annoyed by this half-finished supernatural experience that he's starting to doubt the teachings entirely, basically asking, look, do these heavenly sounds even exist at all? So it turns out the abilities he's desperately chasing are clairvoyance and clairaudience, essentially the divine eye and the divine ear. In the context of early Buddhism, these are viewed as very real supersensory abilities that reveal completely hidden dimensions of the universe. And the Buddha readily acknowledges to Mahāli, oh yeah, these heavenly sounds absolutely do exist. But here is the major catch. Sanakata's total obsession with getting them actually reveals a deeply flawed understanding of the entire practice. These powers, they are completely unnecessary for true awakening. In fact, they can be a massive distraction. The actual mechanics of why Sanakata failed are surprisingly straightforward. It's honestly like troubleshooting a piece of technology. He couldn't hear the sounds simply because he had only developed what's called one-sided immersion. He focused his mind strictly to see heavenly sights. Think about it. If you only tune your radio to one specific frequency, that's exactly what you get, right? To experience both, the Buddha explains a practitioner has to specifically develop two-sided immersion, consciously tuning their focus to encompass both the sights and the sounds. Sanakata just totally missed the mechanics of it. Hearing this highly technical explanation, Mahāli asks a very natural follow-up question. He basically says, okay, but is this the point? Do spiritual seekers lead the holy life under you specifically to realize these incredible immersions? And it's a really fair point. If these superpowers are actually real, wouldn't that be the ultimate goal of all this intense meditation? The Buddha's response is a blunt, total paradigm-shifting correction. He just says, no, there are finer things. This is the absolute pivotal moment of the text. The Buddha clearly pivots away from chasing these mystical, sensual superpowers. You see, Sanakata was treating the spiritual path like a mystical vending machine. Put in meditation, get out cool supernatural experiences. But the Buddha shuts that down instantly. The goal is not to see cool things or hear cool things. The goal is entirely different, and honestly, far more profound. Section 1. The finer things. The 4 noble fruits. So, what exactly are those finer things? Well, the true objective of the spiritual life isn't unlocking a superpower. It's a gradual, highly structured awakening. The Buddha lays out this step-by-step process of progressively stripping away suffering. It starts with step 1, the stream enterer, who breaks the first 3 mental chains, or fetters, including the illusion of a permanent identity and any lingering doubt in the teachings. Then, step 2 is the once returner, who significantly weakens greed, hate, and delusion. Next up, step 3, the non-returner, entirely severs the 5 lower fetters, completely freeing themselves from sensual desire. And finally, the ultimate goal, step 4, the arahant. This stage ends all defilements entirely, achieving total undefiled freedom of heart and wisdom in this very life. That complete freedom, not catching a cool heavenly sound, is the real goal. Hearing about this ultimate freedom, Mahāli is hooked. And frankly, we are too. He asks the exact question you or I would ask at this point. But sir, is there a path and a practice for realizing these things? We've moved from the what to the how. How do you actually walk this path and achieve these 4 noble fruits? Section 2, the tool for awakening, the Noble Eightfold Path. And this brilliantly illustrates the foundational framework the Buddha provides to actually achieve those 4 noble fruits. It's not some secret mystical rite. It is a comprehensive system for living. Notice how it encompasses literally everything, our views, our daily conduct, and our mental disciplines.
You've got right view, right purpose, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and finally, right immersion. The fascinating part here is that immersion, that deep meditation Sunakata was so obsessively focused on, is just number 8. It is a single spoke in a much larger wheel. Without the intellectual and behavioral foundation of the other 7 steps, simply meditating to hear heavenly sounds completely misses the whole shebang.
Section 3. The final dilemma: soul versus body. To really drive this point home, the Buddha recounts a philosophical climax from his own past in Kosambi. He was approached by 2 spiritual renunciates, guys named Mundya and Jalya, with a classic metaphysical trap. Are the soul and the body one and the same, or are they different things? In the ancient spiritual world, seekers desperately wanted theoretical certainty about the eternal nature of the soul, or jiva. They assumed that reaching these deep meditative states would finally hand them the absolute answer to this binary question. Now, the Buddha's response to them is just fascinating. He tells these renunciants that he can guide a monk through incredibly profound, altered states of consciousness in meditation. We're talking deep, deep absorptions. Yet after every single stage, the Buddha repeats exactly this: I know and see like this. Nevertheless, I do not say, the soul and the body are one and the same, or the soul is one thing, the body another. Even with that profound insight, he flatly refuses to step into their binary trap. So why does he refuse? Because eventually, that meditating monk reaches the ultimate realization of the arahant. They understand that, to quote the text, there is nothing further for this place. They have reached the complete end of all rebirth and achieved total liberation. And it's that absolute liberation that completely shatters the entire premise of the renunciants' debate. It renders the whole argument moot. So the crucial point is how the Buddha flips it back on them. He poses the ultimate question. Once a person directly experiences this total end of suffering, would it even be appropriate to try and stuff their realization into your tiny little theoretical boxes about the soul and the body? And the renunciates are forced to admit, no, no way. Once you directly experience the absolute end of suffering, the theoretical debate about an eternal soul loses all its meaning. The actual lived experience of freedom renders the intellectual debate totally irrelevant. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Direct, experiential realization entirely supersedes theoretical debates. True enlightenment isn't about chasing flashy, sensual superpowers like Sunakata, and it isn't about winning clever metaphysical arguments like the wanderers in Kosambi. It is a highly structured, practical path designed to do one thing: end suffering in this very life. So in our own pursuit of knowledge or peace, we really have to ask ourselves, are we getting distracted by flashy experiences and endless theoretical debates, or are we focused on the actual steps that lead to true freedom? Think about that. Thanks for joining this explainer, and we will catch you next time.